Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Saturday. I am attorney Thelma Anderson, a legal analyst. And guess what? We are breaking down the first ever Freaky Rico trial that is going on with none other than Diddy, Daddy Love, Baby Oil Love, P. Diddy Love. We are getting into it, and I am doing this by way, of course, our favorites, the Reallyfe Street Stars platform, and we are going to be giving you commentary every day. I believe we're going to set it at either 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. I do have a co-host. She couldn't be here today, but we are doing a soft launch of the public opinion court where the truth ain't reality, but opinions are. And we are giving you the legal analyst breakdown of everything you need to know day to day about the Freaky Rico trial of the century. So to get started, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this is because there are a lot of legal ramifications that a lot of people are not understanding how to digest and how to break it down. So I, being a former prosecutor and a former municipal court judge, now I do primarily business transactional, from business formation, intellectual property, contracts to crisis management. So I've moved from the criminal side to the business transactional side, but I never left. So I created the public opinion court because everybody has an opinion, but everybody's opinion don't mean it's the reality. So I like to give it to you from the standpoint of fairness, and unbiased. I don't tear anybody down. I don't allow people to tear people down because this is somebody's life, and everybody deserves a fair overview of what's going on and not to be judged. So with that being said, let's get into it. And listen, this is a safe space. You can ask questions. You can engage. I want you to engage. I want you to be very well versed on what's going on. And no question is a dumb question. The only question that are dumb questions are the ones that you don't ask, right? And with the Freaky Rico, I have been seeing everyone say, how does this make sense? How they gonna charge him with the Freaky Rico? How? And I'm like, let's get into it. So the government has essentially charged Diddy with 5 counts. And we're going to go over the 5 counts. And then we're going to get into some of the testimony. And then I'm going to show you some explosive videos. And I'm also going to give y'all the tea that I know from firsthand, because there was a trip that I took back in 2015 where one of his loose lips sink ship's right-hand man revealed something that I should not have been privy to, but for their loose lips. So I'm going to tell y'all the little tea that I know that I'm going to spill only to y'all first, because y'all deserve it. Y'all deserve it. So 5 counts. Racketeering is 1, which is everybody knows is Rico. He has 2 counts, which it would be 2 and 3 for sex trafficking. He has 4 and 5 for transportation. So with Rico, you're like, what do they have to prove? What's that Freaky Rico? I just named it a Freaky Rico because it's pertaining to sex crimes. The federal government has never charged anyone with a Rico that is related to sex crimes. So I call it a Freaky Rico. And the reason I call it a Freaky Rico is because I want people to understand why and what it is instead of saying Rico. I'm just being like comedic and funny and petty also. So racketeering, what they have alleged that Combs have led Combs Enterprise, a network that facilitated sex trafficking, forced labor, and other crimes. So to take you back to the actual lawsuit that Cassie filed. This is why Diddy made the biggest mistake. This is why, because he should have settled that lawsuit. And in settling that lawsuit, we would not be here today. The federal government would never have investigated him, because they would have had an undisclosed settlement to where it was sealed. No one could ever get a hold of it, and they could never talk about it. However, when Diddy decided to hold his nuts and be as cocky as he always has been, when they hit that kill switch and it became public, guess what? The feds was chomping at the bits, was chomping like no other. They are waiting, because I'll tell you this, the federal government has been aware of certain things, but in order for them to actually do something, they needed victims. And in that settlement, she sued his corporations. So when you sue a corporation, that means that they have been doing something as your employer to facilitate the crimes that you're saying that they actually did to you. So because of that, and because of the waiting period, what a lot of people don't know, in the state of New York, there is a waiting period. When somebody files a lawsuit and you settle within 24 hours, that means that they are not required to have an NDA or not talk about it. If he would have waited to settle, let's say 30 days, then he would have been afforded her ability to not talk about it. But because he settled it so fast, joke was on him. So in the Rico, the government has to prove that he was using his enterprise to facilitate criminal activity like sex trafficking, prostitution, any criminal activity associated. So that's how he got the Rico. And that's how they are tying his corporations, because his dumbass decided that he was going to use his corporation to facilitate these crimes. And you're probably like, oh, well, what kind of crimes was he facilitating? Well, when he signed Cassie to the record deal, that 9-album record deal under his company, and then he forced oral sex on her that night, that was the start of it. That was the start. Instead of making her his girlfriend and leaving the business part out of it, he signed her to a record deal. And that was the start of his demise with her. So what kind of evidence do they need? They need proof of an organized structure. And that's easy. His organization being formed in the state of New York is easy to find. They need coordination between members. We know that based on the testimony that his assistants, his security, some of his right-hand men that I have come into contact with facilitated things like securing cleanups after, covering up abuse, the illegal prescriptions. Yeah, that was easy. Okay, we have some questions. Oh. Oh. We're going to get into some of y'all questions, but I want to break this down for y'all, because a lot of people are don't, and it's okay, because this is a legal case that has never been tried. So it's going to be confusing. And that's the reason why I like to break it down. So the next thing we're going to go to is sex trafficking. He's charged with 2 counts of that. And you're probably like, well, what does that mean? That means when victims are coerced into participating in drug-fueled sex parties, known as, in this case, freak-offs, often under threat or manipulation, fear, force. That is how they got to the sex trafficking portion. And the type of evidence that they would need is testimonies from victims like Cassie, some of the sex workers. They have already had a sex worker testify. They have 13 more sex workers that were sitting in the gallery that has been sworn in to testify. They got to have documentation of coercion. You got text messages, you got emails. You're going to have other testimony. They have recordings or communications. Let me tell you about these recordings and communication, y'all. A deviant of sex crimes, or in case pedophiles, will always keep record of their trophy. They call it trophies. They're going to keep record of their behavior because this is how they're going to keep you in control. So when they raided, when Homeland Security raided his house, let me tell you why it was so secret. Because he know people, and there were people that were protecting him as well. So they had to do it secretly. That's why he didn't even get a target letter, because the federal government normally sends you a target letter to let you know you're being investigated. So when they raided his house, guess what they got access to? Freak out videos. Freak out videos. Documentation. They got it all. So when you keep your trophies in an open area in your home, and also they got proof that he was threatening Cassie to release a sex tape, that's another area. There's another area of it. So she also mentioned non-consensual. Let me tell you about non-consensual, because people, yes, she's testified that she agreed to do these things. But under the law, a person cannot consent if they are intoxicated due to a controlled substance or alcohol. So if you've ever engaged with someone that has been intoxicated or under a controlled substance, they can't legally consent. And it's not a defense for anyone that has been accused of sexual assault or some kind of sex crime to say that, oh, they knew they were intoxicated. You did too. And the law states they cannot consent. So if they cannot consent, you better get up and you better walk on by. You better get away. So because of that, because he kept documentation, and we have another witness who was an escort that got documentation. How did the escort get a hold to some documentation? Because loose lips sink ships, and when these individuals are so intoxicated, anything can happen. And we're going to talk about that witness because everybody thought he was crazy when he came out in 2018 and said this. Jonathan Audi. Yep, that's him. Exactly. So Cassie, we have a comment. Let me show. Exactly. So Cassie is innocent because she was heavily drugged. So I'm going to say she knew what she was engaging in, but he knew to provide her with drugs, because drugs make you zone out and make you not feel anything. So when we say innocent from the standpoint of being thrust into this lifestyle, yes. But Cassie made no mistake. She did not hold back from holding herself accountable. Let me show this one. Cassie was never on trial. The feds established their foundation by Cassie testifying first. I don't know what that means. Will not survive. And the world is looking forward to him. Oh, you're probably trying to say the diddler would not survive, and the world was looking forward to him for him to lose his composure. Yes and no. Excuse me. So there's also transportation. Transportation, let me go to the transportation count. He has 2 counts of transportation where the allegations are, is he accused of transporting individuals across state lines to engage in prostitution? The individuals who have proven that so far is Cassie. She confirmed that some of the individuals that they would hire would come from Los Angeles, Las Vegas, or Miami. And some of them would travel in. And guess who would pay for those expenses? Mr. You Can Hate Me Now, Diddy. They have, and I promise you that the government should have evidence of travel records, because you know how you can get those? The airport. Every time you scan your ID through, guess what? It's a record forever. They do not get rid of those records. So if you think that they did not go to these airports and get those subpoenas of the records of the individual's travel history during a certain time, yeah, that's easy to get. Any kind of information arranging travel, transportation, confirming proposals, that is how they get it. So that is how they got the transportation. So with the 5 counts, 2 falling under the same category of each other, and 1 being Rico, I don't know why these balloons do that, but we can celebrate. That's how they got to the counts, and that's in an overview what they have to prove. And that's the reason why I wanted to dive into that first, so that y'all can have a mental note of this in its entirety, because it is confusing. It's a lot. It is a lot. So because it's a lot, I like to break it down and break it down to the level that you can understand, you can revert back to, and you ain't got to speculate, because that's what a lot is going on right now, is speculation, which is perfectly fine. You have to expect that. So when you put a thumbs up, okay, well, I ain't gonna put no more thumbs up. I'm not gonna put no more thumbs up. This might not get rid of the records because he's in jail, like duh, but it's only 1 more person that's going to be cross-examined on Monday. Hold on, let me add this to it. Emma Bean Pie. That's some kind of name, Emma. She said, I see why you don't practice law anymore. You're too emotional and biased. Emma, let me explain something to you. Clearly, maybe you just joined. And the one thing that I have never been accused of in my breakdowns is being emotional or too biased. What I'm clearly doing right now, because I haven't even gotten into the evidence or the testimony for you to even have this opinion or disposition, I clearly went over the type of elements and the evidence that has to be proven, which it bears the burden of the government. So your opinion is not reality. That's why it's the public opinion court, where, your opinion is not the reality of the situation. But thank you for your commentary and your false information as to why I don't practice, when I clearly went over that I do business transactional, because, baby, I fulfilled my purpose. I tried over 50 criminal cases, as well as a former municipal court judge that, made sure defendant's rights were protected at all times. So kudos to you for your lack of understanding and your lack of articulation, because it's clearly showing. Now you have a good day. Now back to what I was doing as I, trying to assist in, breaking down so people can understand. Back to the dealer. Let's talk about the jury makeup, because the jury makeup is very important, because you want to make sure that the individuals on your jury can be fair and impartial to the type of case I had to put Emma in timeout because she on here promoting another person's show that is not a lawyer and don't know the law. But your jury is very important. Let me tell you why. It's because they determine your fate. Not me, not the public opinion, not Emma, not anybody. They determine who can, not who can, but they determine if the government has proven their case beyond a reasonable doubt. And they hold them to their burden, which is the highest burden. The reasonable doubt is the highest burden. And that's just the fact. And if there's any doubt, their job is to find the defendant not guilty. So the jury makeup, there are 8 men and 4 women. I have never seen 8 men on a sex assault jury. And I was blown away, y'all, because I'm like, if there are 8 men, sex assault, and this being the first ever Freaky Rico, I looked at the government like, what are you doing? Why did you allow this? Tell me the strategy, government, because of the movement of so many individuals being wrongfully accused of sex assault crimes or manipulation or things like that, people have become more sympathetic to the accused over the victim. So that is one of the icks about this. Now, I'll tell you this, where the defense wins with having so many male perspectives on a jury, they also lose in the sense of they allowed a neuroscientist, a physician assistant, a social worker to be on the jury. Let me tell you why that's problematic. In my time as a former prosecutor, with certain cases like this, the defense do not want a doctor on the case or a social worker, because guess what? They can sympathize and empathize with the victim, and they can put their experience in knowing if they're telling the truth, and they can move out of the side of the law. You don't want that. You don't want that. Let me see. Let me add this. Why would they put more women on an assault jury? Use your brain, sweetie. I don't think you use your brain, because clearly I stated the defense won with putting more men on the jury based off of what is going on in the current climate of people being wrongfully accused of sex assault crimes. So where were you when I said that? Maybe your hearing aid battery needs to be recharged, because clearly you're not listening. You're listening to respond and not listening to hear, because I'm clearly saying the total opposite of what you said. So thank you. Not only that, love, they have the same prosecutor. Exactly. They have the same prosecutor that was on the Epstein and Maxwell case. So clearly they got experience, but they still have a burden to prove. This is not an easy case. And this is not going to be a case that you can have any mistakes on when you have a jury of that makeup. Now, they do have 4 women. And let me tell you, let me go back to why you don't want a doctor or a social worker, because they can understand the dynamic, the power and control wheel that abusers typically have when they are in their power role against a victim. That's not good. It's not good to ever have a social worker on your jury when you're talking about this kind of case, because one person can mess up your case, or one juror, because they get to go in the back and they get to influence other people's way of thinking. You don't want somebody that has such a high ability to articulate and understand and have that intellectual perspective on your jury, as well as the experience. Now, that is a no-no. So I think the defense and the government messed up with adding these type of jurors to their case. So in one particular, let me just give y'all this note before we go to the next. When they started showing the pictures of the freak-offs, they said one woman grabbed her chest and grasped. You don't want that to happen as the defense. They said 2 men could not look at the pictures that were being shown because of how graphic they were. You do not want that type of body disposition from individuals on your jury, from the defense side. Because I guarantee you there's somebody for the government paying attention to body language. And when you have someone that is paying attention to body language, guess what they're going to do? They're going to be able to regroup and reformat their arguments based off of the movement of the jury. I paid attention to the jury all the time when I would prosecute cases. I knew when I was winning a jury, and I knew when I had lost the jury just by their body language. I'm waiting on Audi's testimony. Exactly. 4 women, less emotion. Thank you, Majesty. You're absolutely right. Yes, the jury is not sequestered. That's a problem. If you don't sequester this jury on this type of case, that's crazy. So someone, June said from the start, she thinks jury selection was strange and they kept throwing people out. Jury selection is very, you don't get a lot of time to select your jury. So the way that they were processing, the only thing that they have to do on jury selection, they have to make sure they're not discriminating based off of race, age, gender, and now what if they identify as the LGBTQ. So as long as they're not discriminating on that basis, they can throw anyone off the jury. And let me tell you how they do that. They look at your body language. They look at your disposition. How are you responding to questions? They look at how you respond to a question. If you say that you can't follow the law and you cannot be fair, that's the easiest way that they're going to get you off of the jury. If you start, if you talk about an experience that you had that you may have been a victim, they don't want you on your jury, on that jury. If you are a lawyer, I would never get picked to be on a jury because of my background. So some of the individuals may have made certain statements, body movement. Like I would not pick someone that was falling asleep during jury selection. that tells me that you're not going to pay attention, even though jury selection is boring as heck. I would give y'all that it's boring, so I understand. But there are more ways that the reasons why they won't pick a jury. I'm trying to get some of these questions answered. Not. They go home and can watch everything. Yes, they can. Oh, yes. So let me answer this. The defense is already in the worst position. Who's the defense attorneys? Oh, I have a list of them, but I didn't pull that up. But he has a star-studded legal team. I can tell you that. One of my favorites is Alexander Shapiro. She actually is a former federal prosecutor. She's also Luigi's attorney, because everybody been saying free Luigi. He has, of course, Brian Steele. I was able to see Brian Steele in trial for Jackie Johnson, the district attorney who was behind the cover-up of Ahmaud Arbery's murder. Brian Steele is, outside of my issues with him on the Thug trial, he is a great advocate. What he did on that case, I can't even talk about it, but he is a great advocate. He has a Black female, Miss Moreland. She works with Brian Steele. She's also a former sex assault survivor. And to be noted, she got assaulted in Atlanta in a studio, and she sued Birdman and lost, trying to put, the responsibility off on Birdman's company, but she ended up losing. But they have her. There's another Black defense attorney that's on the case. His main attorney, I can't pronounce his last name. He's a white guy. And Mark Garos is on the case. And speaking of Mark Garos, let's talk about Jonathan Audi. Let me add his video to the stage.
That's why he's so famous. They land all the contracts. It's his attorneys, which are Mark Garos and Ben Mercedes. Ben Mercedes worked for Bad Boy Entertainment for 4 years and worked for Hillary Rodman for 5. Okay? When I take Sean the threat of death on me, okay? I don't have it, but I can make it available under secrecy. That means that I wouldn't be liable, because I don't want to be getting framed for anything, okay? Right. I had sex with Cassie and Sean. Basically, he would masturbate and tell me what to do with Cassie. I had like 15 encounters, and I heard a lot of business, because what they would do is Sean talks a lot on the phone and on the TV with speakers and stuff, and I was like a sex slave, okay? For them, that's what I was. That's all right? I caught herpes, and I came back and I sued him for the herpes and won. But Mark Garos and Ben Mercedes were his attorneys, okay? And Christopher Leon's here was my attorney. They asked me to turn in that, which was the video recording, and I did so. They gave it back to me accidentally, and it's possible, I threw everything out, it's possible I can produce a copy. Gotcha. It's possible, I'm not sure. Now.
So, I'm going to bring Timmy Diamond Super Chat up here. Thank you, Timmy. But to get into the legal issues with this particular matter of Jonathan Audi. Jonathan Audi was a former sex worker, had 15 encounters with Diddy and Cassie. He had secret recordings, and he said that he contracted herpes, and when he did, he initiated legal proceedings. where he sent over a demand. There was a $5 million settlement that Mark Garos and Ben Mercedes was responsible for facilitating. And in that, he was not supposed to mention anything moving forward, but his lawyers made the biggest mistake of anybody, and they gave the freaking videos back to Jonathan Audi. So guess what Jonathan Audi has? Videos of the freak offs that he recorded himself. Guess who has possession of that? The federal government. Guess who has been named as a witness? Jonathan Audi. Guess who was identified in court as one of the sex workers? Jonathan Audi. Guess who identified him? Cassie. So for years, everybody has made it seem like Jonathan Audi was insane. He received $5 million. And guess what comes into play? Well, why would you settle? Guess how we know there's an attachment to this settlement? Because when they were reading Cassie's text messages on cross-examination, this is mentioned. Jonathan Audi having possession and Diddy saying that he paid a lot of money to get them back. He just confirmed everything Jonathan Audi said in that text message. And I wanted to bring that up because Jonathan Audi has oftentimes been mentioned as being crazy. So Timmy Diamonds stated, Cassie was just a warm-up. The real heat will happen when Brendan Paul takes the stand. He transported items internationally for Diddy for 2 years. Thank you, Timmy, because you are absolutely right. Cassie was just a warm-up. And that's what I have been trying to tell people. The way that prosecutors set their cases up, they set them up so that they can tell a story. They would not have been able to tell the story in its entirety without bringing Cassie so early, because Cassie was the nail that started to enter the coffin. And every time they hit the hammer for that nail to go down, that was because they added more victims, more witnesses, more testimony, more evidence. So she was the important main ingredient. So every witness after is going to continue, and it's supposed to continue to tie everything together. That's the reason why she is the warm-up. And like Timmy said, there is more to come. More explosive witnesses, more explosive testimony. But what does not change is the government still has to prove that burden, which is the highest burden of the land. And they got to prove it to the jury, not us. So thank you, Timmy, for that. You are absolutely right. Mark Garos is, hold on. Let me remove this from the stage. Mark Garos is not officially a member of Combs' legal team. I didn't say he was an official member. He is a legal consultant. So, he is an actual member, even as a consultant, because he is consulting on the case. Let me tell you why he is consulting, because he knows where the bodies are buried. He knows what his settlements, he knows what he facilitated in the background with Diddy. So guess what? He has to be a part of it, because he has to lead his legal team, so his legal team can check off those boxes, because he knows where the bodies are buried, and he knows that he made a fatal mistake with giving those videos back to Jonathan Audi. Forget about, oh man. I want to update y'all on this because Aubrey did come out with a statement. She said that she's not testifying. She was just in New York to do a podcast. So I don't know how we got that information, but she posted that she was not going to be testifying. So I want to bring up a new video of one of Diddy's former employees that has information.
So if you wanted to tie up loose ends and you were concerned that people that you knew could incriminate you, you may have interest in eliminating them. We've seen this all throughout history.
I mean, this sounds kind of mafioso stuff, but I sense that you're talking from a lot of experience here, that you genuinely believe this is a highly dangerous situation involving a highly dangerous man with very dangerous people acting on his behalf, potentially.
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely speaking from experience. This is definitely a highly dangerous situation because this guy was the middleman. He was the party guy. He was the person who lined up the parties and festivities for a lot of guys a lot more wealthy and affluent than him. So, you know, I'm a person who believes that the Epstein's list is very similar to Diddy's list. I'm a believer in that. And, you know, whenever it comes to protecting women and children, I'm going to be fierce. Big ups to my sponsor, Stallion Gear, for putting up funds to help us go out and help people. You know, I want to salute Michael Franzese because he's probably the only famous person who donated to our campaign for protecting women and children, going down to the orphanages and passing out toys and gifts. Because at the end of the day, us as men, we must learn to police ourselves in our own community, because if not, these type of activities will continue to run rampant. I know this situation is dangerous. I've had several attempts on my life throughout my career, and you know.
Let's go.
Where there's one dangerous guy, there's a group.
You referenced earlier, I have a history of heinous acts against people who behave like that. What did you mean by that?
Well, there's a lawsuit that I'm listed in where allegedly I quipped Combs about his sexual deviant activity, and I protected the plaintiff and pointed a firearm at Mr. Combs. That's what the paperwork says. They don't have their facts right, but, you know, I have a reputation for, you know, maintaining a proper balance.
What was he doing, Combs, at the time?
Yeah, so that's all alleged. So, you know, they don't really got they don't have the facts correct with that situation. There's some sort of conspiracy going on, because the same law firm that has brought this case, they tried to file this same case last year. They finally got it amended this year, and this same law firm was trying to pay me $5,000 to come talk on an interview. I turned it down, and then they filed this paperwork. You know, I firmly believe that this lawsuit was filed by people off his side to try to discredit me, other witnesses, and to try to get this current case that he's on thrown out. That's how deep this goes, because the law firm who brought this asinine case, nobody can seem to track them down. How can they have this case amended? Who has the finances to file this type of lawsuit? You know, I got to pay Ed Zappia $15,000 to represent me in a case like this while this trial is going on. Something weird is happening.
But just to be clear, was there an incident where you witnessed somebody who was being abused or about to be abused or had been abused by Diddy, by Sean Combs, and you intervened and warned him to stop?
Definitely.
And what can you tell me about that?
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's the thing. Like, it's an open case, so like I can't really expound too much on that. But I've had several calls about this guy. I've had several calls about his son. People reaching under ladies' dresses, fondling them without asking for permission. Where did he learn this behavior from? Where would he learn that from? Legendary Dapper Dan said he grew up, he knew Combs' parents, and he said what's going on with Combs didn't start with him, it started with his family.
So the reason why I played that is because I have knowledge of, and I can confirm some things that he said about individuals interfering with individuals who have personal knowledge of what's going on. Not to go into much detail, but there has been allegations that were brought to me regarding witness tampering. And this one was a pretty serious matter. And I mean, it was scary. It was scary because this individual does have one of the most explosive pieces of information pertaining to something that had occurred. I'm not going to state what it is because I don't want, if I do, the people are going to be able to put two and two together. But this individual has been set up to the degree of criminal stuff. And it's so bad that there would have to be a sweep of this person's property out of fear of devices being planted, because people knew exactly when this person was doing certain things. That's how deep it is. That is how deep it is. So when there were allegations regarding witness tampering, y'all, it's fucking serious. Excuse my language. It is very serious. So that's the reason why I wanted to play that particular video, is because he is speaking on things that are actually still going on right now with individuals who have been subpoenaed to testify that knows where the bodies are buried. And let me see if I can answer some questions. Thank you, Google user. Do y'all have any specific questions y'all would like me to answer? That something that y'all have heard that y'all want a clarification on? Because that's the one thing that I want to make sure that I can break down anything that you all have concerns about or want clarification on. This is your opportunity to ask those questions, and do not be shy, because I see y'all ain't shy in these comments. So I want y'all to ask whatever y'all want to ask, okay? What justice are you searching for? I'm searching for what justice demands. I respect a jury's decision. I've always prided myself on respecting a jury's decision, even when I have had cases where they have found the defendant on the cases I've tried not guilty. I never celebrated guilty verdicts, because this is someone's life at the end of the day. And in my experience, and when I was a prosecutor, I did everything in my power to try to prevent individuals from going to trial. But they have a constitutional right. And I've also had to educate victims on, like, hey, sometimes justice is an individual being arrested, having to pay a bond, having to come to court. That's sometimes what justice is, if you don't get the outcome of them being convicted, or if we have to dismiss the case. So justice looks different for certain situations. But I respect a jury's decision. at the end of the day, because that's their job. Let's see. Hold on, let me answer this question. Will Jaguar release her videos on here to watch? I have no idea. I can't speak for that. Only Jaguar can. I don't have any personal knowledge. If I did and I was able to talk about it, I would definitely tell y'all, because, you know, there's truth in things that she's saying. Let's see. I heard they called Cassie early because she went into labor. There could be yes. That's also, you know, a possibility. You know, I've had individuals who was pregnant. I'm like, good Lord, we got to get you in and out. So yes. But she still is the star witness. I see another question. An attorney will offer a plea. If the defendant refuses, then the case proceeds to trial. Most defendants choose to accept the plea. That is, you know, facts that have been proven that most defendants will choose to accept the plea. And then if they don't, they do go to trial, which is their constitutional right. Protect my guy, Big Homie. Yes, protect Big Homie, because Big Homie, I want to introduce another video of him.
Happy. She told the jury she was scared of what he would do if she said no. Physical violence from Combs, she said, was always on the back of her mind. He wanted to control every aspect of her life, from how she looked to her work. And when he couldn't reach her immediately, he and his employees would call her incessantly or come and find her in person. So she's building a picture of a violent control freak. Is that a picture that you recognize of what you know about this?
Right. So definitely, these are traits that I recognize. In the field that I work in, whenever we get a call for a retrieval and a family is concerned about a loved one, those same characteristics that this woman listed is the same things that streetwalkers will list about their boyfriend, which is actually their pimp and panderer. That's why I have an affinity for people who are survivors of this type of nonsense and oppression. And this sounds familiar. You know, along this path, I've been poisoned 3 times. My toxicology report showed cyanide, and you know, cyanide metabolizes.
Did y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that?
Into pneumonia in your body. So I've had pneumonia on 3 occasions. You know, and these problems didn't start for me until I started to speak out about people like this. You know, it's been a hard time to line up this interview, because the last time I was scheduled to be in this interview, randomly, our car gets hit from the side by a blacked out vehicle, no license plate. That's happened 3 times this month so far.
Really?
Somebody didn't want me to do this interview. Yeah, somebody didn't want me to do this interview. You know, I'm somebody where I've had FBI come to my house before and tell me they found a threat against my life. So, you know, I'm well versed in this world. But you know, I got round-the-clock security. One of them was sitting right here with me right now. This is a dangerous game people are playing, and it's a good feeling for me to see the justice system prevail. And some people deserve retribution.
You clearly feel that Sean Combs, over the years, has made people disappear.
Right. Well, Pierce, let me ask you a question. From your journalistic perspective, have you ever noticed how in this industry, people untimely meet their demise as soon as somebody else seems like they're having a problem? Have you ever seen that before? Well,
there was, of course, the case of one of his other ex-girlfriends, Kim Porter, who died of pneumonia at a very young age. You just referenced your own situation with pneumonia that you believe was deliberate poisoning. Do you believe that may be what happened to her?
Why are so many people coming down with pneumonia? Why is that happening to everybody? What is that about? Where have you ever seen this many cases of pneumonia associated with one situation? So, you know.
There were rumors.
I'm not saying.
Well, I was going to mention on this that there have been rumors circulating online that Diddy may have poisoned Jamie Foxx, which caused his 2023 hospitalization. In his Netflix show, he compared Combs to the devil in revealing his near-death experience after a brain bleed and stroke. He said, I say this all the time. I saw the tunnel. I didn't see the light. It was hot in that tunnel. I thought, shit, have I gone to the wrong place? I looked at the end of the tunnel, and I thought I saw the devil saying, come on. Or was that Puffy? I'm effing around, but if that was Puffy, had a flaming bottle of Johnson. And no, I'm just kidding. I think that you have taken that to be a not too oblique reference to the fact that he suggested he may too have been poisoned.
Jamie Foxx said out of his mouth that his partner handed him an Advil, and after he took that Advil, he woke up 22 days later. That's what he said out of his mouth. I feel like us as a species, I feel like human skepticism has become a virus, because if we don't trust the words of our peers, where are we as a species? You know, eyewitness testimony and circumstantial evidence is enough to get a person a life sentence in any court.
So the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because there is a pattern of individuals who are healthy, just out of the blue getting pneumonia. So when we are looking at individuals like Kim Porter, which Al B. Shore, who is on the witness list to testify, has stated that she was in good health. They had just celebrated Quincy's movie release like a couple of days prior, and she ended up with pneumonia and just died out of nowhere. That doesn't happen. And let me see, someone asked what she died of. Well, we really don't know. Her body would need to be exhumed because allegedly the medical reporter, the allegations are that they were paid to falsify her medical records or the cause of death. Those are the allegations. It has not been proven, and the only way it will be disproved if her body is exhumed and they make a determination. But when we're talking about a body exhumed that don't have any physical damage, and the medical examiner is deceased out of nowhere, you do your process elimination. Let me see about some of the comments. Yep, the first the ME, the allegations that the ME was paid. They determined that she died from pneumonia. She was not, what kind of labor? She was not pregnant. You can't die from labor when you're not pregnant. Let's see. He had one more thing to say that I want y'all to see.
You know, whenever you see the little guys, the white dudes come in with the spiky hair looking like vampires, yeah, you know, the sex workers is arriving. And at the end of the day, is it consensual if you're promising people a career path and a lifestyle and glitz and glamour, and you're saying, look, we're all doing it. Come join us. You party with us, then I can get you a record deal. I can get you this. That's what's going on to certain people. You know, everybody isn't being financially compensated, and that's where lies the problem.
Big Homie, you've referenced the fact that several times we tried to do this interview and stuff happened to you that was very concerning. Car with blacked out windows and so on, engaging with your vehicle and so on. Now that you've given this interview and you've gone public again and made it very clear what you think of Sean Diddy Combs, do you fear about reprisals?
No, I don't fear anything like that. I'm very, very good at what I do, and I'm trained in everything dangerous.
Where's the image? So I want to show y'all something. Let's see if it's going to. So I told y'all I was going to give y'all a little tea on how I have some information. Not saying I have something that is criminal, but James Cruz used to be. Can you repeat my question? I don't need proposal. Calm down, because I don't even know what question you have. There are a lot of people that are asking really good questions. So I don't even remember what you said. So calm down and be respectful, just like everybody else in the chat is being respectful. And if you're on this live, please like, subscribe, or make sure you are following, because we're going to be doing recaps moving forward of the day-to-day testimony. So any questions that y'all have the ability to, chime in and check in. Somebody had a question that, let me answer this before I go into this particular individual. As a lawyer, how do you feel about this trial? And also, how do you feel about how do you feel justice could be served? Whew, this trial is a lot. Do I like the fact that there's a Black man that had reached a level of or pinnacle of success being on trial? No. Do I understand why? Yes. Do I feel like anyone that has criminalized individuals for decades should be prosecuted? Absolutely. Do I feel like he had an opportunity to keep this from coming public? Yes. Do I feel like he's the why behind him being prosecuted? Yes. Do I feel like he put himself in this position? Yes. Do I feel like he had an opportunity to stop all of this? Yes. Do I feel like he had the power to change everything around him? Yes. Do I feel like they are prosecuting the right person? Yes. Do I feel like the government has to prove their case? Yes. Have they proven it beyond a reasonable doubt as of yet? No, because they are just getting started. I am a former sex assault survivor, so it's triggering. But I also know individuals who have been wrongfully accused of sex crimes, and that is not okay. And I can see the perspective from both sides. So I think that the prosecution was right to bring a case, but I also think that they have to make sure that they prove this case. And if they don't, the jury has the decision and should follow the law if they have not met each and every element to prove their burden beyond a reasonable doubt. So how can justice be served? Like I said, justice comes in different forms. A person being arrested, that could be justice. A person being convicted, that could be justice. A person changing who they are to become a better person can be justice. So justice happens in different ways. Now, hold on. It's some more questions, and I want to get to y'all questions. Do you know? Okay, let me ask this one. Do you know the details of the plea that was offered? Allegedly, he was offered 15 years. Allegedly. Now, I'm only saying allegedly because that information is not even supposed to be out. What kind of plea offers are offered are not supposed to be out. But we know loose lips sink ships, and loose lips has been sinking ships on this side. 15 years is better than potential that he's looking for in life, with life. So that's that. And I would tell you there are other jurisdictions that may have, the ability to bring federal charges against him, like California, like Florida. That could still be a thing. Let's see. I want to get some more questions. He knew after he sued the liquor company. I feel like that's what really started. I kind of feel that way too a little bit, because if I'm being totally honest, on the strategic side, if I am Cassie's lawyers and I see that he is suing this big liquor company, I look at that as an opportunity to tarnish his ability to recover anything, because now what you have essentially done, what a lot of people don't know, there's a morality clause that is embedded in agreements. And there was a morality clause in the agreement that he signed with Diageo. So when you commit something like as heinous as what has been alleged, they have the ability to get out of the deal and not lose out on anything, and your lawsuit has to go away. So I can see that strategically Cassie's lawyers saw, oh, he is suing Diageo. He's going to be more willing to settle to keep this from coming out, so that won't ruin his ability to recover, because I do believe he had a legitimate claim against Diageo. But the fact that he chose not to, I don't think he looked at it from that lens. Like, you have $1 billion pretty much lawsuit. You better settle behind closed doors, because if this comes out, now you're in breach of the agreement, because you have committed what they call a moral. You have created something that violates the morality clause. And when you do that, they can automatically cut you from an agreement. So good question, because I think that is actually true. Miss Anderson, would you represent Diddy in this case? Absolutely not. There's not enough money. It's not even about the money. As a former sex assault victim, I would not be the perfect person to represent someone like this. And it would be triggering for me, and it would affect my mental health to where I would not be effective in representing him. So that's why I wouldn't do it. Let me see, because proposal is in here just being. So back to this picture before we end, because I just wanted to come and do a soft launch for y'all so that y'all can know this is the place to be. Weekdays, as we are breaking down day-to-day trial, like everything that is happening in the trial, I want y'all to get y'all questions together. I want y'all to be engaged. I want y'all to know that this is a space where you can get reliable information pertaining to this trial, and also anything else that's breaking news, like Tory Lanez, Chris Brown. That's exactly what we're going to be doing for y'all, so that y'all can come here and get your information. So back to, let me remove this. Back to this picture. James Cruz has forever been Diddy's right-hand man. He knows where the bodies are buried. He knows when Diddy does something, he's supposed to be the fixer. So August 26th, I was in Vegas. I went to Vegas because Mayweather was having his only open spar day. This was 2015 when he was set to retire. And this is the first time he had ever let the media come in and watch him spar. And the only way you can get in is if you was invited by someone that was invited. So I was. We went to lunch. There was a lot of executives, James Cruz being one. James Cruz, loose lip sync ships, is having a heated conversation where he has to walk away. When he comes back, he is, casually talking about how Diddy had fucked up with Cassie and they got to figure out how to make it right. Well, Cassie's testimony talks about how after her birthday, she gets beat. And I'm going to tell you why this is significant is because if you go back and you search Cassie's birthday 2015, Diddy surprises her out of nowhere. And she did not want to see him. You see the reaction all of her face. And that is what I recall from James, because James was like, he fucked up. He did something and they got to fix it. September 15th, Mayweather fight weekend. This is after the fight. They have, I think they had an after party. She was talking to a producer while there. He takes her into the room and is beating her according to her testimony. And she said the only reason he stopped is because D-Rock and James Cruz, this particular guy, walks in and he stopped beating her. So when she testified, I was like, I remember this guy. I remember he was talking about Diddy doing something and Cassie was upset. I didn't know a few weeks later she was going to be beaten. And this was Mayweather's fight weekend in Vegas. And then they went to Jamaica right after. And that's where they also talk about the bruises she had over her body. So Roger Buns, let me talk about Roger Buns because y'all, I ain't gonna hold you. I went into Roger Buns' comments. Let me see what I said to Roger Buns because Roger ended up responding to my messages because I asked him because I wanted to know, like, and he got a little snappy with me, which was okay. I respect it. So Roger Buns, I said, so you didn't assist Diddy? I said, you didn't assist Diddy in his dirty work? He says to me, you don't know me, so I'm going to let that go. But no, I didn't. And if you read the lawsuit, she says I'm the only one who helped her. Have a good day. I said, I read her testimony and she said she was trying to escape, got away, and you brought her back to the hotel where she was afraid to leave. I don't know you, correct. I asked what the world wants to know when your name was mentioned as a contributor. He said, we could go back and forth all day. Nothing never happened in front of me. And when it did, I stopped it, period. And I sit back, understood. So Roger Buns is denying it, but Cassie's testimony was very clear that the first time she had gotten beaten and she was able to run away, Roger Buns brought her back to the hotel, disguised her, put her in the room, and she was afraid to leave. So I don't know if this was after the fact he would stop him, but the allegations is that Roger Buns is not cool with Diddy because allegedly he didn't pay for his son's school. So who knows if he's going to testify or not. I'm looking at more questions for y'all. Cassie's testimony was that of love letters, not abuse. Are you serious? Janelle, baby girl, in my Drake voice. Where you been? Because where we've been, there has been drugs introduced. There has been a video of her getting her ass beat from escaping a freak off. There has been evidence of a sex worker talking about he witnessed her get beat. There has been pictures of bruises. There has been her testimony of occasions where she got beat, the dates, the emails that can confirm it, the threats of a sex tape being leaked, that threats that were reduced to writing, assistants that facilitated, a $10 million settlement from the hotel where she got beat. So Janelle, baby girl, I don't know what you've been doing, but there has been a lot of evidence that has been presented. This was not a love letter. There was definitely abuse, and really bad abuse. Some that resulted in cosmetic surgery, doctors having to come, like prescriptions had to be written, illegal prescriptions. Baby girl, I need you to clap on in and check in with us, because you probably ain't looked at this. Okay. Let's see. What are details of the plea deal? You know what are the details of the plea deal? You know, by any chance, what are the details? Oh, charm like girl. We are not supposed to know the details of the plea deal. We're not. It's never supposed to come public, because if a person decides to exercise their constitutional right and go to trial, we are not supposed to have any indication of what they were supposed to get unless a defendant releases, because the government is not supposed to release it. Thank you, Majesty. That is my goal, is to bring you all, fair and impartial content regarding this case, and to educate you all on the law. I have no dog in this fight. I respect what the jury is going to determine. If it's not guilty, I respect it. That's the same way that I was in Tory Lane's trial. I did believe Tory was innocent. But when the jury came back with guilty, I was like, you know what? They did their job. They looked at the evidence and testimony, and they made the ultimate decision. So thank you for this comment, and make sure that y'all are liking and subscribing. Also, you can follow me at Lawyer Bay ESQ. That's where I post my commentary on my personal YouTube, my personal Instagram. My YouTube channel is the Public Opinion Court, where you can like, subscribe, and follow, because I'm going to be collaborating with Reallyfe Street Stars, which is, I'm super excited about, to bring y'all this content. And you can follow me on TikTok at the Public Opinion Court. I post on there. And I'm also starting to roam on Fanbase. That is going to be like an after dark, where you can come and engage. That page is Lawyer Bay ESQ, but the room is going to be the Public Opinion Court. But mostly y'all are going to be able to catch me doing commentary daily on here, where we're going to just break down the case. Like, what happened today? What did the defense do that surprised you? What did the government do? What did the witness do? If the judge had did something, we're going to give it to you raw and unfiltered, because that's what y'all deserve. Y'all deserve to know it. I'm watching to learn. I'm in Texas and need to pay more attention. Janelle, I appreciate that. And whatever I can do, your question was not a bad question. And just tune in. Let's see. I'm trying to see more questions. Who do you think can be named as a co-conspirator? Good question. The individuals that Cassie named, but I don't think they're going to go after anyone. I think they got their head honcho, and I think they wanted Diddy to give up people that were bigger than him, like political, that got more money than him, but Diddy did not. So I don't think that they're going to go after anyone else unless those individuals defied their ability to put this case together and was like, I ain't gonna do that. I was gonna do a big FU side. That's I ain't trying to get in trouble. So I don't think they're going to go after anyone else, because I think those individuals are talking a lot with them. Yes, Raw daily at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Central Standard Time. We're going to be giving it to you raw and unfiltered daily. Let's see. Do y'all help people? Do y'all help the people can't speak for themselves? Oh, so do we help people who are basically in a bind? I facilitate recommendations, like I refer people, but like I said, my business is primarily business formation, intellectual property, crisis management. So that'll be the crisis management side, where I facilitate, figure out what's going on with the individual and try to refer them to the right people that can assist them. Let's see. Given Combs 54, a 15-year sentence could effectively amount to life in prison. Not necessarily, because he can, if he does 85%, I think that's the amount that he has to do. Plus, he's already been in there going on a year. He can get out. Let me do the math for y'all. What is 85? He'll have 11 years left, and he can do programs for good time. So I'd rather do 15 in life. I'd rather do 15 in life. Oh, thank you, Nia. We're going to try to control it a little better. Thank you, Majesty. Let's see. Even if Diddy found not guilty, he's finished. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he'll be finished. I don't do math either. That's why I went to law school, y'all. I hated math. I was not good in math. I don't even know how I was able to pass my math classes in undergrad, because it was your girl hates math, okay? But let's see. I don't have any more questions. Like I said, make sure y'all are following. Follow me as well. But we're going to be here at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I do have my guest, who's my co-host. Her name is Adria McKnight. She is a criminal defense attorney, and she's breaking it down from the standpoint of a defense attorney. She's killing it. Her Instagram is Attorney McKnight. She's known as That's My Lawyer. She's located in Houston. She also does personal injury. And my business page is the BYOB Firm, where I help entrepreneurs protect and form their business, build your own business. And when you got a crisis, baby, we put that out over here, okay? So we have come to the end. I thank y'all for popping my cherry on here. Y'all have been so gracious. Y'all have literally given me the energy to continue to break this down and be excited about it, because y'all kept it live in here. That's why I knew y'all was gonna be the perfect platform for this collaboration. And I know y'all like to get the tea, and y'all like it to be broken down so that y'all can spill it wherever you go. So Like I said, if you like this content, make sure you are turning on your notifications so that we can see y'all daily, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And yeah, with that, thank y'all for joining the Public Opinion Court collaboration with Real Life Street Stars, where the truth ain't reality, but opinions are. And y'all have a great rest of your day.